cooking at home. I'm Chef Darren, a passionate food educator. I'm excited to share more food and fun with you. Today we're going to do a little cast iron salmon with an Asian citrus salad. The whole idea with this particular dish is it brings us a nice summer, easygoing dish, super healthy, very light, and very kind of like fragrant and beautiful. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the ingredients we're going to use today. So we're using Atlantic salmon, skin-on Atlantic salmon. Some of the things that I can tell you about Atlantic salmon, it's a farm product, so what you end up with is a fish that has a lot of fat in it. It's fairly fatty. What that fat does is helps with it being user-friendly. It's a little bit more difficult to overcook. Some of the wild salmons are a little bit leaner, so you have to be more careful. This will yield a nice end results very, very easily, and you don't have to worry too much about that. The skin on, of course, is nice, especially because we're going to do it in a cast iron pan. And the cast iron and the skin together gives us a great result. A nice crispy skin is what we're going to aim for. So we'll get that going in a second here. We also have a herb salad that we're gonna make that we'll make a nice dressing for. And these two things together are just really light and summery, so it goes really well for as we lead into the summer months. So we have our cast iron pan that we've preheated. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. You're looking for at least a medium heat, maybe a little more than medium heat. We're looking at, we want to crisp the skin, but we don't want to burn the skin. So it's kind of a happy medium. Before we get started on that, the salmon, this is a neat little chef trick that you can do at home in order to assist that your salmon will get nice and crispy on the outside, is when you get it home, cut it into the portion sizes that you want and put it into the refrigerator on a plate with the skin side up. This helps with drying the skin out a little bit and will kind of get the whole ball rolling on the crispiness. Of course, moisture is an enemy of being crispy, so you actually want to have that as dry as can be. So we've done that in the meantime. That's been in the fridge. I've had it in the fridge for about an hour uncovered. You could probably go 2 or 3 hours. It would get it nice and dried up for sure. So we're going to get this in the pan before we start making our dressing. A little bit of salt and pepper, of course, just to season it up really nice. We'll do both sides. Little kosher salt is where, if you, for the viewers out there, if you think I'm using a lot of salt, sometimes it appears that way, but the kosher salt, the diamond crystal kosher salt in particular, is very light and flaky. So you actually end up, what looks like more, it's not as much. It's a gentle seasoning. Alright, so now we've got that done. We're going to check our temperature here. So we're using a little bit of clear oil of some type, vegetable oil, canola oil. If you want a pure olive oil, not an extra virgin oil. Anything that's clear that has a high smoking point works good for this particular process. So we want a little bit of fat in the pan. We don't want a whole bunch. We want it to be, we're not deep frying the fish or shallow frying the fish. We want it to be just coating the bottom. We're going to give it a little bit more heat and we'll get our salmon in there. So of course we're going to go in there skin side down. Very important to do that. And if you don't hear the sizzle when you put it in the pan was not hot enough. Okay. So you may need to swirl the oil around in the pan just to make sure that it's coating everything. What happens in a situation like this is the oil or the fat in the pan is actually the medium in which you're cooking. If you put anything in a hot pan, it's only touching in some spots. So the oil is what fills in between that and is going to give you that nice, even crisp. All right, so we're going to give that a few minutes here. We'll keep our eye on it while we're doing a few other things. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to put together our dressing. So we're doing a really kind of an Asian-y, citrusy dressing. One of the things that we're going to do to start with is we're going to segment our citrus. So we're taking an orange. An orange is going to be our citrus today. And we're just going to segment it a little bit. So we'll take off each end. And we're going to take a few of the orange segments because they're going to go really nice in our herb salad. It really adds to that sweet kind of hit of freshness. So once we get that trimmed up a little bit, then we can get our segments off. And then we'll save the other part of the orange for, of course, to juice to go into our dressing. So to get the segments out, we're basically, helps if you use a good smaller knife. You're just going to go in between the membranes, and you can just tap them out. Great for a garnish. Also, as I said, part of the salad, it just is that nice colorful pop for sure. All right, so that's probably good for one portion. I'll do one more just for good measure. You can certainly use, if there's blood oranges, you could use a little bit of lemon. The lemon, of course, the straight up lemon wedges might be a little bit too acidic, but it'll certainly work. So we're going to stop here for a second. We're going to just have a little look at our fish, just to make sure that we're doing a good job moving the fat around again. I'm going to have a little peek just to see where we're sitting as far as our crispiness goes. And it's looking really, really good. I'm actually going to turn it down just a smidgen. You do need to keep your eye on this particular part of the process. We don't want it to go too fast. All right, we'll give that another minute here. A little bit more oil just to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to. All right, so back to our dressing. What we're going to do is we're just going to use, I use my little blender here, a little food processor, and it does an excellent job. It's basically a perfect machine for making a quick dressing or vinaigrette. It just works wonderful. Okay. Oh, that's looking nice. Okay, so we're going to get things into our little blender here to make our dressing. So we're going to start with a little bit of ginger. Obviously, if we're going along the Asian lines, we're going to take some garlic, a little bit of garlic. 1 clove of garlic should do the trick for this particular size of batch of dressing that we're going to make here. The nice thing about using this blender as well is that you don't have to chop everything up, you don't have to grate it up. It'll basically do all of that for you. We're going to take a little bit of shallot. If you don't have shallot or shallot, you can certainly use a little bit of white onion, but I do like the idea of using the shallot over the onion simply because it's a little bit more delicate in flavor. The onion sometimes can be a little bit overpowering. All right, so we'll put a little bit of this in. And again, this dressing, once you have it made, it'll work really nice. It'll hold well in your fridge. Typically, we typically get at least 3 weeks out of one of these dressings when we make them. Really, once you've made your own homemade dressing, there's hardly a reason to purchase a pre-made dressing anymore. All right, so we'll add a few more things. We're going to add a bit of honey for that hit of sweetness, of course. When we're making anything like this, you're looking for balance, to balance together your salt as well as your sweetness and all the other flavors. Then we're going to add a little bit of soy sauce. We may add a little bit more once we get going and get tasting. You'll notice I'm not measuring things. We will be posting a recipe to go with this, but for now I'm just kind of winging it, and I tend to cook that way. A little bit of sesame oil. That's of course going to add to those lovely Asian flavors. A little bit of rice wine vinegar, because it's not really a dressing or a vinaigrette if you don't have some vinegar in there. So the rice wine vinegar is really nice, simply because it's a delicate acidity. And then a little bit of mustard. I'm using Dijon mustard. The mustard kind of helps everything kind of come together. It'll hold the emulsification a little bit. Then we're going to give this a blend and see where we fit. Don't let me forget, we're going to add some citrus juices as well, some orange juices. Oh yeah, that's looking good. We're going to pause that for a second. I think we're ready to flip our salmon. Pretty confident. Oh yeah, so we got this great crust on that. Exactly what we were hoping for. Looks lovely. We'll give it a bit more heat and keep it going. Now we're on the other side, so we're going to cook that probably another 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're going to let it rest. The key to cooking a nice salmon is to simply have it just a medium rare on the inside. That's super important. So we'll blend our dressing a bit more. We're going to just have a little look and assess it. We are going to add a little bit of oil to that, of course, because we have quite a bit of flavor going on in there. We do need some oil to kind of, a little bit of neutral oil that will help kind of dilute that a little bit. I'm going to hit it with also a teeny little bit of salt and pepper. Now all these flavors are going to go really well together. The citrus and the soy balance each other really nicely. So there's such a good combination. And we'll see if we can get a bit more juice. There we go. Nice. And the orange, of course, goes super well with all that as well. Give it another little blast. A little bit more oil. And then we're going to taste it. That's the beauty thing about making your own dressing at home. You don't have to follow a recipe. You need certain ingredients, and once you've learned the ratios, you're off to the races. You're pretty much good to go. So I'm going to have a little taste and see how we're sitting. Now, keeping in mind, of course, all the different profiles. We're considering, of course, our sweetness and our salt, as well as our acidity. It's the main things I'm kind of looking at. And that actually worked really, really well. That's exactly what we were looking for. So I'm going to do one more little blast, a little bit of oil, and one more blast. It's nice. I'm getting that citrus and the honey, the sesame, as well as the soy. It's just a nice kind of balance. So we'll set that off to the side here. Sorry, Chef Reed. I've got a helper in the kitchen right now. Chef is usually anywhere there's food being prepared. She's kind of the cleaner-upper, if you will. Stands right below you, so she captures just about everything and anything. All right, so we're going to have a little look here at our salmon. Again, we want to keep moving it around. Just want to see what we got. Oh yeah, that's coming along. So you can certainly kind of maneuver it a little bit so that make sure you get the whole surface of the salmon with a nice golden brown crust on it. Okay, and as that's cooking a bit more, and you can kind of get you can kind of see how we're doing with the cooking right now. If you look you can see that it's still red down the center, and it's starting to cook around the side. So that gives you an idea of where we're sitting as far as its doneness goes. Okay, I'm going to give that another 30 seconds, and then we're going to turn it off. I'm going to flip it over again so it sits on the actual skin side while we're getting our herb salad ready. In our herb salad, we're actually using a couple local products here today that I'm very excited about. We have Rafferty Farms, which is here in Okotoks or around the Okotoks area. We have the pea shoots from them, as well as, oh my gosh, what is it? Watercress. Sorry, yeah. So pea shoots and watercress, and then we also have some baby arugula. So it makes for just a really nice light salad. As you can see, it's it's light and fluffy. It's beautiful. So what we'll do, we're going to turn this off, let that sit once we flip it over. Super happy with the cook that we've got on both sides. As you can see, our crust that we got going on that salmon, it is phenomenal. I can tilt it up for a little better. Okay, so it doesn't take long. Quite commonly, we overcook our fish, so we're aiming to undercook slightly and let it rest. That's super important. The general population, including myself, have a tendency to overcook seafood. All right, so now we've got that salad. We're going to put it together. It's very, very straightforward. It's not rocket science by any means. We're going to add our orange wedges to that and any juices that have accumulated. We'll give it a little shot of dressing. Okay, and we'll grab a plate here. Okay, and we're going to give this a little toss. Sometimes it might need a little hit of salt afterwards, but likely not. So we'll give this just a little toss and make sure everything's nicely coated. That's all we're really trying to do. We want to make sure that all the leaves of the herbs are dressed. You know, that's what we're looking for. So this looks really, really good. So you don't have to do a big portion at all. This would feed probably a couple people, at least depending on the household. So we'll just get this right down the center of the plate. I like to serve it all as one, nice and high. Make sure you get the wedges in there, or the wedges of the orange in there. Okay. There we go. We'll set this aside, and we'll have another look at our salmon and see how it's doing. I would say that's actually cooked right where we want it. So we're just going to take one of these portions and we're going to put it right on top there. Just like so. And you can see the doneness. It looks perfect. It looks like it's a nice medium rare on the inside of that salmon. At this point, and of course, we want to serve it skin side up. Silly me, that was a test for you guys. And if you want, we have some radish, a little bit of radish sprouts. I find the radish goes really nice with the Asian flavors. It works quite well together. And at this point, then you can drizzle a little bit of extra dressing around. It's got a nice color to it, so it certainly adds a beautiful color and look to it. And if you want, we have some beautiful tomatoes from Broxburn Farms, which again is a local product. You can cut these into quarters and just kind of scatter them around the plate for an extra little pop of color. All right, and there you have it. What we have is a cast iron seared salmon served over a citrus Asian herb salad, and this is summertime dining at its best. Enjoy. All right, so thank you for everyone joining us today. Watch for more videos coming your way. If you're interested in anything more to do with Divine Cooking, check us out at divinecooking.ca or Divine Cooking at Home on Instagram. Keep watching for more of these great videos for kick-ass food and kick-ass fun.